Here we go, baby. Monday, Midday with Miz. And what else are we going to talk about? That beast of the East. The New York Football Giants. Hey, let's go into it. The Giants are now 5-1. They're the worst 5-1 football team in NFL history. That's what they tell us. Daniel Jones can't play quarterback. Barkley's a shattered running back. This O-line stinks. This team's got no talent, baby. No talent. We ain't got a receiver that should be playing in the NFL. Who's this tight end they drafted? What? Bellinger? This guy Dabo was never a head coach in the NFL. Hey. Kayvon Thibbs doesn't have muscles. He's got to bulk up. Aziz is hurt. Who's this punter with the long blonde hair? Shouldn't he be surfing somewhere? Let me ask you a question. How the hell is this team 5-1? Is it us? Or does that say something about the rest of the NFL? The Giants are 5-1. Yo, and they're not just barely doing it against scrub teams. They're beating some of the best football teams and the top quarterbacks in the NFL. We're leaving people like Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers clueless and puzzled in the fourth quarter as this wing defense abuses teams. You know what I love about this team too? If you really watch the games, this coaching staff is lawyering teams into thinking that they got us by letting them have some of the stuff in the first half to falsely have them think that they can continue doing it in the second half. And then the Giants go into halftime, change things. They scheme. This coaching staff is scheming the league, bro. This coaching staff is out scheming coaches every week. You gotta love it. I mean, how do you not love this? Dude.
While most drivers go from
The New York Giants.
in America, we prefer point X.
Let me go into one of the schemes. Last week against the Packers, the Giants allowed the Packers to throw these 5 to 10 yard turnarounds all game long. 5 and outs, 10 turn. They let them have the field for the first half. But every time a team gets in the red zone, the Giants lock down and hold no field goal. You know, bend but not break defense, if you will. But the coaching staff allows the other coaching staff and quarterback and team to think that they can continue this all game, and they basically have the Giants. The Giants have no receivers, they don't have talent, and they're not going to be able to come back from down 10. So the game's in hand, right? But the Giants staff, Dabo goes into halftime with Wink. Okay? And what do? They come out with a scheme in the second half. They fool you. They start opening up the game. They keep pounding the running game, which opens up enough throwing. Okay? And then, what I saw against Green Bay was a scheme. The Giants went to 4 safeties across in the red zone, not allowing the Packers to score a touchdown in the second half. Brilliant. Packers weren't ready for it. The Giants pass rushed and played a 4 safety defense, taking away the Packers wide receivers. And then the Giants poured it on in the fourth quarter. They wait till like the end of the third to open up the offense and give it to you. They don't show you anything offensively in the first half, which once again makes teams falsely think that they don't have anything. This week against the Ravens, same thing. The Giants let the Ravens have the middle of the field. Throw to Andrews all day. It's okay, but when you get in the red zone, we're going to lock down. Lamar can run up the middle all he wants, but again, in the red zone, you're not going to be able to run. Alright? So they allowed them to run their RPO with Adams, Jackson, and then throws to Andrews. He caught 100 yards. That's great. But over the middle. They're giving you the field until you get down inside the 20. And we've seen this with the Giants all year long with this defense. We all know the Giants' interior defense is one of the top in the NFL with Dexter and Leo. We all know Kayvon Thibbs the last 3 weeks leads the NFL in pressures off the edge, including the game-winning sack strip fumble of Jackson yesterday. This kid's arriving, and man, he's got so much more to grow. You're doing this without Aziz. Ward, one of the steals of the offseason. The Ravens made a big mistake letting Ward go because he's beast balling for the Giants. And he's imposing his physical will on teams. Alright? The New York Football Giants secondary is number 1 rated in the NFL against the pass. I don't know how. I mean, Adoree Jackson's been a lockdown corner all year. We don't have another corner. Robinson got hurt. Flock is hurt. They're both out. You got one safety in McKinney. The rest of them are these role-playing safeties. But boy, are they stepping up big time. And you got to chalk it up to Wink. And he came up with another hell of a scheme yesterday. He allowed the Ravens to think that he continue to play up the middle all game long. He gave them the first half. All they came away was with, 10 points? And then came the second half, where the Giants' defense went to a scheme. On 5 occasions, the Giants' D-line shifted right before the snap. On all 5 occasions, the Ravens false started. Okay? That's 25. That's 5 penalties that killed drives. And the Giants did a shift stunt on the last play of the game when Tibbs came up with the strip sack fumble. So Wink once again came up with a scheme that we haven't shown this year, so you could not prepare yourself for it. 5 times the D-line shifted right before the snap. 5 times the Ravens had false starts called on them. That's huge. And in the fourth quarter, the Giants defense locks down again, and the Ravens score 0. Jackson, who's capable of running and scoring at any moment of a game. The Giants contained the Ravens to 0 in the fourth quarter, and they come back and steal the game. And I didn't even get to Daniel Jones yet. This morning, Rex Ryan, who keeps it real a lot of the time as an analyst, said Daniel Jones is among the best quarterbacks in football, and he has a lot more to grow. So there's a lot more coming. And Daniel Jones has matured in front of our eyes and become a man, a franchise quarterback. Yes, I said it, a franchise quarterback. Daniel Jones, 2 touchdown throws, big-time drives. In Judge's 2 years, the Giants never had a 7-minute time of possession scoring drive. Not once in 2 years. In the last 2 weeks, Daniel Jones has led us on 2 7-minute plus touchdown drives of 90 yards or more. And 4 drives with scores at the end of them of over 6 minutes in the last 2 games against 2 strong teams. And I don't care what people are going to say. Oh, the Packers are turning out to be not that good. The Packers are still the Packers. There's plenty of year that they can turn it around. Okay? Don't tell me the Packers aren't the Packers now when 2 weeks ago you gave the Giants 0 chance. I didn't even think we would win that game. Okay? I told you we would win the Ravens game, and we did. And there's another huge thing forming with the New York Football Giants. Something we haven't had in a decade. It's called home field advantage. The Giants are now 3-1 at home, with a loud, ruckus, shaking stadium, and it's been a long time since we've had that. And isn't it funny that when you're winning and your fan base is loud and affecting the other team, the 12th man is back in the Meadowlands? Ain't it funny how an ugly stadium that we thought was not a home field anymore turned back into a acceptable stadium? And boy, is it a home crowd that other teams have to deal with. And other teams are going to have to deal with this Giants for the rest of the year, because the Giants are a team to be reckoned with. And even the haters can't even hate and lie to themselves no more. They have to scratch their head and say, what's going on here? Well, we're 5-1. And we're the worst 5-1 team in football. And the last time the New York Giants were the worst winning team in football, they went to the Super Bowl in 2000 on an ugly painted mud behind a physical defense, much like this one. 8 teams in the NFL won with under 200 passing yards yesterday. So you no longer need an elite superstar passing quarterback. The league is sort of starting to step backwards again. Not backwards, but reverting back to real football. The defense have figured out the passing game. 8 teams in the NFL won with under 200 yards passing. And this year you see the emergence of the running games again. And the New York Giants are the #1 ground game in the NFL. Right?
Quaker instant
Hey.
meal has upped its game with protein. 10 grams of protein.
I don't need fancy fantasy stats. And I don't need 400 passing yards. I need a quarterback that can manage a team, doesn't make turnovers, understands the clock, understands where his receivers have to be, and make the third down throws that move the chains. And Daniel Jones has been doing that all year. He's accurate. He gets the game. And we have a coaching staff that has given us a modern day offense, a scheme that fits Daniel Jones's play. And I love it. And I'm with it. And Daniel Jones and Barkley are now a pair. It's an item. And I believe Joe Shane will find a way to keep both. And I think Daniel Jones will work with us. Because he don't want to go nowhere. He's busted his butt for 3 years and taken a beat down to get to this moment and finally have a real coaching staff and an offense that fits his style. With a top ground game and the best goddamn running back in the league. And we'll just keep building this O-line next year. I go get us a center, maybe another guard. Maybe a big linebacker. And hey, speaking of linebackers, and I don't even want to go into speaking about the draft, because like I said earlier today, draft talk in the middle of a football season is for losers. That's a losing mentality, and that shit is over here. It wasn't like this a decade ago and before that. It became something the last few years. This fan base still maybe doesn't understand that we are a winning team now. They've been paralyzed by losing, and they've been trained, this younger fan base has been trained to think about the draft and who's the next better quarterback. My man, there is no next better quarterback. There's not a quarterback in the coming draft that's better than Daniel Jones. And I'm not going to wait 4 more years to groom one. We're built for now. We're especially going to be built for next year. Because when the Giants add another tight end, our #1 wide receiver, maybe they go get a corner and another big linebacker. Maybe they find a center in the draft. Next year, this team is going to be far beyond what they are this year. But from year to year, you never know because of injuries. You never know who's going to step up in the league. Last year was the Cincinnati Bengals. No one seen it coming. This year, it's the New York Football Giants. Slapped the league in the face because they didn't see that slap coming. You know, real talk, Barkley's an animal. He's carrying this team, and he's only getting better week by week. This O-line is gelling. This front 4 on defense, you can argue, could be arguably the best in the league. Top 3. Bellinger is stepping up as a tight end, man. We got ourselves a real tight end. He blocks like an animal. He catches balls. He runs routes. He's decisive. He's a fit for Jones. Robinson, we've been waiting for all year. This kid can run the slot. He can line up outside. He can do it all. He can take handoffs. We got ourselves a slot guy that's going to move the chains and is willing to go over the middle and, eat the hits. Got himself a touchdown, his first touchdown. My boy Robinson plays his first game in the NFL and gets a touchdown. Tony and Galladay are on the Giants for a year and a half, and neither of them has one touchdown between them. It's embarrassing. And let me tell you something about Tony, and you all know I've been knocking on him for a year and a half, and I think you all are coming around now. You realize that there might be bigger issues with Tony than just the hamstring. Like, I want him to play because I know it makes us better, and I'm kind of looking forward, hoping that he can get on the field the second half, but I don't know. This guy might be out the window, and the Giants might be looking to trade him. But I'll tell you one thing, Tony. You're missing the party, brother. You missed the train. And now you're standing on the platform all by yourself on a dark, lonely night. Still got a chance to show something in practice. Still got a chance to step up and play, because we all know what you could do in a game. Just realize this team ain't about the spotlight. This team ain't about the stats. This is a hard, gritty, physical football team that's willing to bust their butts. They play like they don't know they're good every single week, because sometimes talent doesn't hustle and bust their ass because they depend on their talent and they get a little arrogant. And then you got teams with players that have no arrogance because they were told that they're not good, and the only thing that drives them is a chip on their shoulder from being told that they suck and they're not good enough, and being underdog 3 to the Jaguars this week. That's the type of shit that drives a team. That's fuel for the fire, and we have the coaching staff that's going to pour it on them. This is a motivated, hungry team, and we're only seeing the beginnings of it. This Giants team is capable of doing things this year. But sometimes you can't even help but get really excited about what the future is, because the Giants are building longevity. And it's been a long time. And we're 2 hours. And I'm proud of this Giants team. The Giants are top in the league in special teams. The Giants are top in the league in running. The Giants are one of the top in the league in least amount of penalties. And the Giants are 5-1. And they're led by Daniel Jones. Something none of us thought we might ever see. Daniel Jones. I want to say something about Daniel Jones. All the haters, it's okay to admit you were wrong. It's okay to sit back. I know there are other quarterbacks that might look more attractive, but this guy fits this team. And it's okay to jump back on the train and say, hey, Daniel Jones is my quarterback because he wears my colors blue. Get on the train. Don't be left behind, because this train's going northbound. Get on it. And not every one of us has to be a GM, right? Just remember, at the end of the day, we're fans. Be a diehard fan and enjoy this season. Because like I said yesterday, and I apologize if I was a little nuts, I was emotional. Like Kayvon Thibbs, and I love that he wears his heart and emotions on his chest and on his sleeve. I love that. That's what we need, more of those. Him, Ward, Barkley. Daniel Jones doesn't show you emotions, neither did Eli, and you know what? That's a good thing. But when you're the leader of a team in a big-time city where there's such big-time pressure and the media wants to suffocate you and they're watching your every move, it's good to have a guy who's very even balanced. And when chaos is going on around him, he could bring calmness to the team and the field, a lot like Eli did for many years. But I'll tell you who Daniel Jones reminds me of to a T, 100% to a T. And this guy's career, his first 2-3 years started out just like Jones. Chaos, unstable, didn't have a good O-line, and he struggled. He plays like him, and I think he can have a career just like him. It won't be the greatest numbers, but he will manage you to winning games knowing that you have a running game and you have a top-level defense. Old school football still wins, and the guy Daniel Jones reminds me of is Phil Simms. And his career started out exactly like Simms. He acts like him. He plays like him. And he might have a bigger arm. And his accuracy is definitely growing on us. And look what he's doing it with, man. Go out and get this guy a 1. If we could get him more somehow and we can make it financially work for next year, go get him. Because Daniel Jones has earned another big weapon so he could take the next step, and you never know where this train could end up this year. You never know in the NFL. We're in a modern day with a lot of parity. And when you look ahead of our schedule, I don't want to get cocky. I want to stay humble. We got to bring it hard. And we got to bust our butt every single Sunday because we're not that team yet. But the teams coming up are all winnable games. Now, maybe you'll slip somewhere. It's part of a growth. But when you look at the next 4 or 5 games, there's no way the Giants shouldn't at least go 3-1. I don't want to look ahead. We got Jacksonville this week. And to me, this is a little bit of a dangerous game because we're coming off of 2 big-time wins. And emotionally now, we could get hooked. So we got to stay up. The Jaguars are not a bad offense, and they have Lawrence. They have a solid defense. They're not good. They're 2-4, but they have a coach that prepares real hard. Okay? A Super Bowl winning coach. We're going to their home. And you know, this is the first time in years that we might be able to use this word. And I used it this week in the Niner game. I said the Niners were walking into a trap game. And they had a lot of injuries, but still it was a trap game. The Giants are going into Jacksonville, and for the first time in years, we're walking into a trap game. And usually the trap game is at home. But because of what we just did the last few weeks, and we're going into a team that we all probably expect to beat, you got to be careful here. But you know what? That's for later in the week. The Giants are 5-1. They're in second place. The Eagles are 6-0. They're in first place. The Cowboys lost. They are 4-2. These are 3 big-time teams. The NFC East is the best division of football. Once again, the glory days are back. It's the NFC Beast. There's a couple other teams in the NFC. Keep an eye on. I gave you one before the season. The Minnesota Vikings are 5-1, and they're doing it quietly under the radar, and that's dangerous. The 49ers are coming off a loss to Atlanta, but I still think that they're healthy or a very strong team to be dealt with, especially that defense. And Jimmy G's been there, done it, so he knows what it takes. You don't sleep on the Rams because they're the defending Super Bowl champs, and as long as they're going to hang around, you never know what can happen come December. And I'll tell you one other. In the South, I don't make much of anyone yet. We all know Tampa has a pretty easy schedule. They'll find their way there when they get it together. Right now, there's a lot of issues, and I believe Tom Brady's personal issues at home have now been brought into that locker room, and it's affecting that team. Now, they're a very veteran team. They got injuries. They'll get players back. Brady will get it together. I'm pretty sure Tampa will end up winning that division. I'm sorry. I don't think much of the Saints. They're a 500 team. Carolina is a total trash can. And they did the right thing by cutting Anderson today. And not one Giant fan better not bring that name up because that guy's cancer. Showed me a whole scary side of him walking off that field yesterday. Alright? The Atlanta Falcons should be watched. Atlanta's having a good season. They're playing very hard. They play hard football. Another team that people don't think much of. So they're going to bust their ass every week. That was a big win for them against the Niners. And you know what? Yeah, Atlanta can be watched. They'll be fighting for a wild card, maybe. The Eagles are the class of the NFC right now. And a lot of people are putting Green Bay to sleep after the Jets walked into Lambeau and gave them a spanking. Okay, the Jets are a team on the rise. They're young, they're strong, and I think Salah's now put his hands in on the D finally. And that defense is coming. 2 good running backs and a young quarterback. And I think that team is right now waiting for that quarterback to come of age. They'll be fighting for the wild card against New England, as I think the Bills will win that division. Right now, Buffalo, to me, is the best team in football. Even though the Eagles are 6-0, the Buffalo Bills, you just see the power across that team. And Kansas City lost, but the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. And them and the Bills, they'll have a date somewhere in late January. The Giants are 5-1. Let's keep this train rolling. Right now, you gotta say it's the best coached team in football is the New York Football Giants. Special teams at the top, least amount of penalties, ground game at the top. You know what the Giants have? The New York Giants are playing old school football, and they're showing you that traditional old school, grind it out, punch you in the mouth football still wins. You don't have to have a fancy, finesse passing team. You could go ground the ball, punch you in the lips, and I'm going to lock you down in the fourth quarter and impose my physical defense on you. And that's the New York Giants. Just wanted to come on and talk about it. Be excited, be happy, but stay humble. And I tell everyone, forget about who's coming out in next year's draft. Forget that shit, because we're not going to be picking in the top 20. How you like that? Jones is going to be here. Barkley's going to be here. And we're going to add more pieces. And this team's young. Second youngest team in the league. So what do you think is going to happen? It's only going to grow. And it's only going to get better. The future looks good. But live for today. Enjoy every week. Light a cigar. Get yourself a bag of chips, a sandwich, and a nice cold drink. Sit back and know that we're going into every Sunday expecting to win, and we haven't had that in about 6 years. And the Giants are fun and exciting. And tip your damn cap to this coaching staff. Man, Wink, you're a beast. The Ravens made a big mistake, but I thank them. And Dabo and Joe Shane brought the Buffalo ways to the Giants, just as I thought they would before we hired them. And Dabo's been like an angel sent from God, has turned this franchise around. And you know me, I've always been a Gettleman guy, and I'm not going to go into it because it's in the past. But tip your cap to Gettleman. I don't care if he's old school and it ain't the type of style you liked. Even you young kids out there, go do your homework. Tip a cap to Gettleman. Because all these players that are balling out on the Giants, behind finally getting real coaching and development, every one of these players are Gettleman guys. I'm not going to start naming them all. We went through it last week. Show respect. It wasn't Gettleman. It was horrible coaching. Shermer, Judge. And believe me, Judge wasn't picked by Gettleman. He was brought in here by Mara on a reference from Belichick. Love what you're seeing. Enjoy this run. Next Sunday, 1 o'clock, the New York Football Giants walk into Jacksonville. That's going to be a sold-out stadium of New Yorkers, and the Miz is going to be there. This team is a team to be reckoned with. And if you don't believe it, go ask the Packers, the Ravens, and the Titans. This was a midday.